Hey, it's Plague Von Karma here. So today we're talking a bit about tier list and matchup charts. So there's a common trend I've seen in the Smash community ever since Brawl even is people like to make these little matchup charts and tier lists to try quantify an analysis of the Smash metagame. I feel like a lot of these are very flawed these days, and they're significantly different to how they were before. I feel like they are some of the most unproductive sources of discussion in Smash as a whole, really. Particularly because people seem to misunderstand the purposes of these types of lists on both ends of the spectrum. The people making them and the people, contesting them. So, tier lists were originally made as a way to represent a game's overall matchups. This was done through tallying up matchups, for example, Lord Raptor wins +2 against X character in Darkstalkers 3, but it's just changed a few bits over the years, but that's generally how it worked. So you would total up the matchups through the pluses and the minuses. So for example, +1, then if it's a -1 matchup after that, if it goes to +1, until you eventually get to +36 overall, something which is extremely good. So your placements will be ordered by that total, and that's a pretty good way to make a tier list, really, and because that's how they were meant to be made. So this event essentially formed a metagame roadmap of sorts, so you could figure out your best main for the current climate, or pick a secondary to help your current main succeed. This was just how it went for many years. But for some reason eventually these concepts separated, and I don't know why, because I feel like the quantitative tier lists were very good. Although I will say there are some areas where it just kind of fell apart, because eventually we had so many characters in a game. For example, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it's almost impossible to make a good tier list there, or at least a good cumulative one. Let's call these. And so eventually, it just kind of fell out of favor. But then, we still had tier lists existing despite the flawed concepts. People just started making these very, very subjective ones, which were much more difficult to follow. It's very difficult to work with, as you can imagine. Now. So when you have a lot of characters, you end up having to outsource tons of information from different people with these matchup charts with all these different totals. So you could be some of these could be very optimistic or very pessimistic. And after the Brawl backroom ended in the Smash community, we didn't really have many ways to do that. It went very wrong very quickly. But. So the thing is, those tier lists were very good because they were a lot more qualitative than quantitative, and because you had all this juicy data, while also serving as the inherent benefits of a tier list. You had the ability to pick out the secondary, or or to just figure out what the current climate is and what character to use when getting into the game. But now you have these tier lists where people are okay, this is my hot take, quote unquote. This character is broken. This character will get you all the results you want. And you're just going to have to take my word for it, because this character is incredible. It does nothing to help you. That literally does nothing for you. If you have a hot take, it does nothing for you in the format that you're playing. For example, if I suddenly came out saying Duck Hunt is top tier, that's not going to help you when you go into bracket, because all you know is that Duck Hunt's good, and that may not even be true because you just took this random take on Twitter or Facebook or something. The reason why these tier lists previously worked was because you had the matchups right next to them, because they were made through matchup charts. So you see on the tier list, okay, let's say Meta Knight is top tier. He debatably goes even with Marth. Okay, I'll pick Marth to give myself the best chance of winning, because you're picking up Marth before you go into the bracket because you have that information with you. But these hot take tier lists just mean nothing, because they often come from a context where somebody's probably playing in a specific region of the USA. That's another thing as well. Tier lists often come from various contexts. So, for example, the Brawl backroom tier list was made from an Americanized point of view. So you have the metagame of the USA as the forefront of information sources for that list. So, for example, in Japan, Pit was considered an A tier character back in Brawl, because he had people like Earth doing extremely well with Pit in that format. while in the US he was considered like a C tier character, kind of like just whatever, very underdeveloped. Oh, let's optimize his character. It was very weird, but then you know, like, if you go to the US at that time period when the Brawl Backroom existed, you'd go to that area of the US of the world, and then you'd be like, okay, this is what they think of the game. Let's pick up this character that seems to win more against this character. That'll give you a good chance of winning. But like with the current Twitter tier list, it's just like, what? like. So let's just put this into another perspective. So the current tier list that you have, like with these hot takes and stuff, it may work when you're in that area where the same person is, because that's where their perspective is coming from. And I guess that's like kind of what you do with them. You'd be like, okay, this character's really good there. Let's pick up this character that I think may do well, but you don't know if they're going to do well because you don't know if these people are actually very good at that matchup. You don't know if, like, for example, let's say DDD like versus Pikachu or something, and you think, okay, if I have trouble against DDD when playing my character. If you do, then please get help. That's a very dire situation to be in life. So let's pick up Pikachu. This character does well against DDD, right? But the DDD player actually has a more experienced Pikachu friend who's like doing well or something, and like he's been fighting with this Pikachu for like ever since the game was released, so he has lots of Pikachu experience. Then you just end up losing, and that DDD may actually have a very optimistic take on the Pikachu matchup because of that experience. This is like kind of a weird situation you get put in with these like new tier lists. It's like, I don't know. I don't think I'm articulating this point very well at all, but I hope it's like getting across. Like, it's hard to explain, like with the differences. Like generally, there's just a much bigger drop in information, because instead of coming from like a back room of like 50 odd people, it's coming from a single 15-year-old on Twitter who probably only leaves the house to go to these like local tournaments, and probably like goes like 2-2 at best. Which is, by the way, alright for a local tournament. Like, if power to you if you do that. Like, but like it probably like makes the ego go through the roof, and it's like, all right, man, I'm ready for this. I am the king of my city. Let's get out this spicy matchup chart that's gonna get ratioed on Twitter within the next hour. God, that is such a horrible culture to get yourself into. Holy crap. So this further extends into matchup charts, because like I've brought this up already a bit. So matchup charts have a few distinct purposes. Finding out what you personally struggle with, bettering your understanding of a character, discovering what opposing characters you need to practice against, and things like that, really. So eventually this could culminate into, like, okay, my character does extremely well against this one, but it also, like, sucks against this one. So let's pick up a secondary for this really bad matchup that I really shouldn't be getting myself into, rather than, like, putting in the time to practice against it. This is often done in very extreme circumstances where your character literally cannot win. So, for example, if you're playing Brawl Bowser, which, I mean, why are you playing Brawl Bowser? But, like, anyway, and you need a secondary because you lose -4 to DDD. Which is actually true. That matchup is almost impossible. You just get grabbed and you die. So, you know, exactly. So you get DDD has a down throw infinite on Brawl Bowser, who just like infinite down throw combo. You just even have to walk for it. Actually, if you just buffer it properly, you can just do it. Although walking helps with consistency a bit. But anyway. So you don't want to get chain grabbed by DDD because, well, it's not, life is just pain. So you need to pick up a secondary for this matchup, and you're like, okay, what the fuck character do I do? So you make a matchup chart, and you figure out like what DDD's matchups are, maybe from a friend who will submit to you their own matchup chart. Obviously, they get to account context, perspective, etc. If it's a hot take, whatever, and eventually come to the decision. Okay, let's play like Marth or something. I mean, you could just switch to Meta Knight if you're good, but you can just pick up like Marth or something, and just for those matchups you don't want to deal with, and there you go, you're done. That's all you have to do. Just get the two matchup charts, like analyze what characters you lose too much against, or what characters like could do well against these specific characters that you're dealing with, and eventually just come to all that. That's what matchup charts are for. So through this, you have bettered your understanding of your character, in this case Brawl Bowser, and then you've also like figured out what opposing characters you need to practice against, because there's -1 matchups. You're like, okay, this one's a bit difficult, so let's do that. And what this also does is also tell you a lot about you as a player, because you've gone through all this to quantify all these, and you've probably gone to other people in the process with your matchup chart saying, okay, this is what I think, let's deal with that. And they may help you say, okay, this is what I do against this character. Maybe this matchup may actually not be my -1, it could actually be even, or even +1. You just haven't been doing this, this, and this. This is helpful. But with the current climates that I've experienced, people seem to take matchup charts a bit too objectively, or a bit too, seriously, so to speak. Because they don't seem to understand that matchup charts are not meant to be objective in any way. They're meant to be personal experiences. It's like people get weirdly political about it, and I don't understand why. Like on Twitter, for example, I think it's because a lot of people on Twitter like to frame them in a very objective manner. They're like, okay, this is it, this is that, this is my word. You just gotta take my word for it, and that's not really how it's meant to work. I don't like that. Like on YouTube, for example, a lot of influencers will just do a very similar thing where they'll just okay, look at this matchup chart. This is my thing. This is what you're supposed to think. And people will respond going, "Oh, this matchup chart's horrible." And the thing is, neither of these are very productive discussions to have, because one person's framing it in a very standoffish manner, while somebody else is conflicting with it in a standoffish manner. Instead of becoming a discussion about the matchup chart itself and what the thoughts each person has, it becomes an ego battle between the two people, where nothing is ever going to get done because people are going to just be repeating numbers instead of actual data. Now, I don't understand that numbers are data, but I mean more in respect to the matchup ratios. Okay, this character doesn't win +1 if they actually win +2. Oh, this character doesn't lose -1, it's actually a winning matchup. Neither of these actually give you any information. It just makes you feel better, maybe, or make you feel worse. What you're supposed to do is go, okay, I think this matchup may not be as bad as you think it is. For example, if this character's forward is actually quite slow, our character can actually outframe it just by jumping in on reaction. If you just start doing this, you'll probably start winning more consistently. Also, their projectile actually has very poor priority, so if you can actually beat it with this aerial. This is actually a lot better. That sort of discussion is much more effective because you're actually learning something, and you're actually getting more discussion about the matchup chart. And hell, you can even revise it to give you new opinions, and you can take that information to your next tournament and start winning. I think that's something that should really be done more. I don't really understand why people seem to be more standoffish about these lists when they don't need to be. That, what I do with my matchup charts is just never distribute them at all. I've distributed them a few times in the past when people requested me to, but I never really do it voluntarily. If I do, it's usually I can't actually remember a single situation where I've done that. Wow. It's primarily because I don't need to. I don't need to share my matchup charts because they are my own perspective. I have my own playstyle, I have my own experiences, I have my own environments that I play in, and so all of those come into dictating how I view matchups. And also because I'm typically a person who has a much more optimistic perspective, because I tend to think about things more analytically and things like that. I tend to not suffer tilt like other players do, so I don't have the mental game that some characters may have on others. For example, if in Smash Ultimate, for example, if Mr. Game Watch does up B once on some person, it just switch off for the rest of the game, and they just never win. Well, for me, I'm just oh, they did this. Okay, so let's see what I can do with that. Something like that. Obviously, this isn't the same for everybody. Everybody has their own little different quirks and stuff, and that's why these matchup chances can be so radically different. For example, on the Shulk matchup with King K. Rool in Ultimate, I have quite an optimistic perspective on that matchup, while some others may think, this matchup's awful, this character's busted, he cheats with the Monado, and stuff like that. It just blows over my head, really. I'm probably just a boomer, but But yeah, also play level also comes into this drastically as well, because a matchup chart based on your level of play can be so radically different compared to any other. So, for example, if you're low level, typically you're going to have these noob stomping characters that will ultimately decimate you, and you will not know what to do. So you'll typically put those at like -2 or something, because generally you're just not at the level of experience to actually fight those characters. Or characters that are more technical will often just be like worse at low levels of play, because the people who are playing them don't know what to do, while you may be playing a noob stomper character that beats them really hard. So you have to put that character like +2 or whatever. Even though in a high level of play that just isn't feasible. There's also stuff like Wi-Fi in certain games, like for example older fighting games and Smash have terrible online. That'll also influence how characters are played. For example, Sheik in Smash Ultimate just sucks online because holy shit, what can you do with that level of input delay? Or if you're playing, I think Street Fighter 3 Online Edition had bad Wi-Fi. Like that would probably make Chun-Li very awful to play. So you just typically just suck with those characters. Actually, no, does Chun-Li just have an Ugga Mugga confirm? I forgot. I haven't played that game in ages. Wow. Anyway, so these all influence matchup charts as well, because like if you're just like really young and you just learn the game, you obviously have a little Dunning-Kruger effect coming at you. You're winning against these little Timmies, and you're like, oh, look at me, I'm doing good, which is great. That's amazing. I love it. That's the best experience you can have when playing a fighting game. And then as you grow, you eventually have these little growing pains, and you're like, oh, actually, look at this. Like, I'm learning all this stuff. That's great. And so typically your matchup charts will evolve with that. But then when you put that matchup chart out, when you start to feel confident, and everyone starts dunking on you without any constructive feedback, that's gotta suck. Like, my god, like, people do not handle these well at all. Like, it isn't the people making the matchup charts that are the problem, it's how people respond to them, really. Obviously, some people are just obnoxious. Like, the obnoxious people who come out with the matchup charts are the worst by far. But, the little people who are just like, oh, look at this, this is what I experienced, please help me. And then someone's like, you don't win against Bowser? No! I am the best Bowser player in my state! I will smash your head in! You are the worst person I've ever met online! Go fuck yourself! And it's just like, what the fuck? Calm down, I can't actually know how to deal with the matchup. No! You are not gonna learn anything from me! You do not deign a response from me! What do you mean I'm responding to your tweet right now, you puny motherfucker? I'm gonna smash you at your next local. I will be there. I'm handling this in a very immature manner and not doing anything constructive while reflecting poorly on my character's player base. You have messed with the wrong Bowser player, motherfucker. It's like that. I don't know what the fuck people are. I don't know what they expect. But yeah, so I guess I'm bringing up all these things, but not really coming up with a solution. I could easily be like Return to Monkey, but no, because the old system was very, very, very qualitative and it was very difficult to deal with. Now, as fighting games keep getting like ridiculous character rosters, the old concepts just don't work. And to be honest, I think tier lists generally with the current balancing of fighting games, like they matter a lot less. And typically, like even low level tier lists don't really do anything, because at low level you're not really aiming to win, more to learn. So I feel like at low levels, tier lists can probably just be cast aside, because at top level play is probably where they're going to matter more, because you need to take more educated picks on characters for any kind of niche of winning. Because at that point you're playing to win, so worse characters just aren't really good for you. Worse characters can obviously be played if you're passionate, but they are pretty much an objective poor choice in top level, because you're inherently handicapping yourself to do well. This is to say that like low tier players should just abandon their characters, because like most low tier players are not at top level, and the top low tier players that are probably comfortable enough to not need to put time into those other characters. Like again, like you can do them at top level play, you just got to be playing worse, which is fine. If you can play with the odds, then by all means do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like play the game how you want, really. But when it comes to matchup charts, I feel like people just need to be more mature. Consider that there is a person behind that screen who has had just an immense amount of experience themselves. Like, that person, that is a human being who has had their own experiences. I know I've repeated myself there, but like I really want to emphasize that, because people seem to forget that on the internet. you don't need to bully somebody over a matchup chart. It's stupid, it's immature, it doesn't do anything for either person. You're literally just wasting your time, but contributing nothing, other than possibly making the person feel bad because you don't understand anything. Like, engage in a cohesive discussion. Like, just go up to them and say, okay, what do you think about this matchup then? I'm curious about this. And they give you their own perspective, and maybe you'll learn something from that. They'd be like, okay, they could be like, oh yeah, I like using this move against them because it seems to get us a lot of trouble. And then you can come back at them saying, hey, okay, that's actually quite interesting. Here's how I played around that move. And they'd be like, oh, that's cool. And that could give them something to tell their friend who plays that character maybe. Then they get a better experience of the matchup. You both win. That's literally all you have to do. Like I engage in these discussions in my personal Discord quite a lot actually. Like those kinds of like matchup discussions, because I love them. They're exciting, and it gives me something to tell people about. I feel like people on Discord just like to grandstand a lot, and I feel like that's handicapping a lot of development for a lot of players. I feel like that they're actually being scaring people off even. Like generally, just I don't know. Like my approach with matchup charts is just to not distribute them at all, just update them personally. Anyway, this has just been a 20-minute rant for pretty much no reason. I don't know if I'll keep doing this type of content. I feel like it's like I don't really want to become the rant video channel that poaches content from other people, which is what I've been doing. But you know, but yeah, if you listen to it this far, then God bless you. You've listened to a PvK rant for once in your goddamn life. But also like. God help you, you listen to a PvK rant. Anyway, yeah. Catch you all later, I guess. See ya.